This is your boy Chili Willie, ECW original, everybody's favorite homeboy. And yo, you need to check out the Big Fight.
This is Liam McGarry, and welcome to the Big Fight Weekly.
A warm welcome. It is episode 34 of Powered4.tv Big Fight Weekly with myself, Stuart Palmer, and my co-host and cousin Chris Hume. How are we, Chris, this week?
We're good, mate. We're good.
It's been a bumper weekend of combat sports. We're going to get right into it with UFC Fight Nights, where we got to see Jim Miller, Chris, against Eric Gonzalez, a newcomer to the UFC, in what was a fantastic bout and a huge win for Jim Miller, Chris. He's now tied with Damian Maia in UFC victories of 22 and just one behind Donald Cerrone. How did you find the event, mate, the main event?
Well, this was, I think this was in the main card, wasn't it? I don't think this was the main event. No, you know what? It was good because obviously Miller's coming off a loss. He lost in his last fight. So it's one of them. And Miller, he's been around. I don't know if you realise this, but Stu, but he's been around since 2008 as Jim Miller in the UFC. You know what I mean, and he's a record of 33-16. You know, that's an honourable record for a guy that's been around UFC since 2008. You know, he's been on the UFC 100 card, beyond the UFC 200. He said in his post-match, he wants to be on the UFC 300. So more the merrier if he keeps going, especially if he keeps knocking people out as well, which we don't normally see with Jim Miller. I looked for his record today, and you know, in the 50 fights he's had, Stuart, he's only had 5 knockout wins,
which is quite incredible, really, Chris, isn't it? When you look at how many fights he's had, you know, not known for the KOs.
No, he's a grappler, isn't he? He takes you down and he beats you up or he submits you. Don't forget, he submitted the current lightweight champion in Charlie Olives, hasn't he? Or as they love to call him Charlie Olives now, don't they? But Charles Oliveira, people don't know who he is. But he submitted him as well. You know, many moons ago now, you know, obviously Charles Oliveira's had a lot of losses, but have come back and obviously you can see he's won the title. But going back to this fight, I thought it was incredible for him because, you know, he's ever-present Jim Miller. You know what I mean? He hasn't gone away and he's lost to quite a few and he's come back and he's won and, you know what I mean? He just doesn't go away. And he had Lyme's disease not long ago. So, you know what I mean? The guy keeps coming back. But, you know, regards to the fight, he got wobbled, didn't he, by Gonzalez?
They both got a bit rocked in that first round.
Yeah, but I think after Jim Miller got rocked, he changed the plan then. And he just continued hitting him with that jab and that sort of coming down sort of hook, overhanded sort of hook. But he kept on finding its home, didn't it? In that last part of the first round, wobbled him a couple of times towards the end. Yeah, he just looked good. He looked like, you know, he really wanted this win. And then in the second round, you saw that really lazy high kick from Gonzalez. You know, it was sort of like an up kick, but he changed his mind midway through it going up. And then obviously, as it was coming back down, Jim Miller caught him there with an absolute flush, overhanded right, hits him right on the chin. He was knocked out as soon as he dropped. But Jim Miller, obviously, you can never be too sure in mixed martial arts on you. So you get a few pot shots in just to make sure. But, you know, that was all she wrote for Gonzalez. And Jim Miller wins with a KO, which is absolutely fantastic, you know. It's good to see people like him. He's a veteran and definitely a future Hall of Famer for MMA itself, not just UFC. But I'm happy for him. You know, he's never going to get a title shot. He's not going to break into the top 10. But if he can be a rear guard for all these up-and-comers and if they get past Jim Miller, you know they're the real deal.
It's good seeing a journeyman doing it. You know, we've seen it. You know, we've seen it a lot of times with fighters, haven't we? You've had, you know, you think they've had their Indian summer and then they're gone. But like you said, the length of time he's been involved with the promotion is quite staggering, isn't it? And you actually said to me off camera he could be Hall of Fame worthy.
I just said that. Yeah, definitely. You mean you can't be in the UFC from 2008 until 2021 and still rocking out victories against the newer guard. You know, we spoke about this plenty of times. The newer guard, it's mixed martial arts. So a lot of the new guys coming in now are really all-rounded and really well all-rounded. You know, it's not just a boxer coming in and coming as a striker or a jiu-jitsu guy or a wrestler. You still get those guys, and, you know, they are world-class at their skill set, but you're getting these new set of guys who are coming in and mixed martial arts ready, you know, facets of every set of skills. But, you know, he's sticking in it, and he's still winning. And I really, you know, I'm really happy for him. I was really chuffed for him for the victory. Like,
there's a question I ask you, you know, many times. You know, if you had your matchmaker head on and you were at the UFC, what would be the next fight for Jim Miller? You know, he's took on a lot of guys, you know, within the division. But yeah, who would you like to see him up against next? What would whet your appetite for Jim Miller? What would be a good fight for him going forward off the back of this?
Let me get the rankings up, because
sorry.
No, I just think it's quite good if I can get the rankings up. Then I can
just have a nosy.
Actually see where. Oh, there you go. Jim Miller is ranked 31, which, you know, it's one of them. You know, he's been around. Above him, there's Jared Gordon. There's Mark Madsen. Mark Madsen looked good against Clay Guida.
Solid. He was made a good account of himself in that bout against Clay, didn't he?
So he's got a few good fighters.
That's interesting.
He's got Bobby Green around him.
Bobby Green would be solid as well. Just going off, you know, where he's been, you know. So yeah, in and around him, there is options, isn't there? Absolutely.
Yeah, we have UK's own Mark DeCasey's there as well. So
yeah, what's happened with the DeCasey?
DeCasey's well, I think he was meant to fight on the US British card. You know, the one back in September, Darren Till and Derek Brunson, but I think it was a lot of them had visa issues getting into the USA at that point. So I'm sure you'll get booked, and I'm sure they'll get a card over in Europe at some point and get all the people that missed out in September back on a card.
Absolutely. So yeah, a fantastic victory, a UFC fight night from the Vegas Apex for him. And then moving on, our very own UK fighter who was on earlier in the night, Danny Roberts bests Ramazan Amiev, who was a former M1 Global Middleweight champion. Chris, I was reading up on him a little bit because I hadn't seen too much on him. But yeah, the scorecards, one scorecard had Amiev at 28-29, but the other two scorecards, 29-28. And then a disputed 30-27, Chris, I've been reading online. I felt it was 29-28, Danny Roberts. I think Amiev in the first round was probably a bit better. You obviously think 30-27 was a bit wide.
Yeah, well, you mean I've seen a lot of people on Twitter on the Sunday. So obviously, I watched it on the Sunday, so I didn't stay up for it. A lot of people with robbery, the hashtag robbery for this fight. I wouldn't call it a robbery. It was an extremely close fight, and it's one of them again that could go either way. But again, you can't leave fights in the decision in the hands of the judges. Dana White said this how many bloody years, because they don't always get it right, but sometimes they do. This one, I think he could go either way. I thought Roberts, you know, he was really good with his scrambles getting off the bottom, which I'm, you know, really impressed to see, because through his UFC career, he's struggled when he's been taken down. But he looked, you know, he got up, he got out of some really tight spots as well. And when he was on the ground against Emev, and Emev looked like a really strong grappler. And you could tell, like, you know, he's from the Eastern Europe, so, you know, they're notorious for really strong grappling. But he did really well. I also thought Danny Roberts did a lot of good work in the clinch. He used a lot of knees to the midsection, and then he was bringing that knee up and catching Emev right on the chin time and time again. It was, you know, for over 3 rounds, you know what I mean? He was just dropping that knee. But the strikes were a bit wild from Danny Roberts. When they went up against the fence and they come away from the clinch, I thought Emev was catching Danny Roberts more with the jabs and the hooks than Danny Roberts was catching him. And this is why when it went to the judges, I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. But Emev took, you know, a lot of damage as well. He took a lot of, when Danny Roberts did connect, he took a lot of heavy punches from Danny Roberts. You've got to say that Emev had a hell of a chin, because not just the knees that were coming up from the clinch. When Danny Roberts hit him with the hooks, he was hitting them flush. But he was taking it. He was taking it and moving on and, you know, trying to grapple, trying to get him down. But yeah, it was an entertaining fight, and I think Danny Roberts needed this win, because Danny Roberts again lost his last fight. But it was good again, because you know how much we like the Brits, and we like to see them come through.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah.
Danny Roberts has been around for quite a while, so you know he's had losses, he's had wins. You know, he's floating in the rankings. I wouldn't say, you know, he's got a major tail up to get up the rankings. He's floating around. Just needs to get like a good hot streak going now, a bit like Davey Grant did, and stop rocking off some big wins. And maybe we'll see Danny Roberts fly up the rankings.
He's eyeing about, as you can see in the headline there. He's looking at Christmas for his next bout. Chris, I think it might be time to roll the VT with Danny in the post-fight press conference.
Yeah, no worries.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
The TV here, and I think you were into it, and then when you heard 30-27, I saw the face go, oh no.
I thought it was a bit of a strange score. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what fight they were watching at the same time, but again, if it would have been a little bit closer, arguably I still would have known that it would have been mine. But when I heard that 30-27, it was like, hang on, who's give it to what way here? Because it can be one of them at times. So I'm just grateful that they seen what I felt and that what everyone else would have seen as well. Also,
when would you like to get back in there?
Before Christmas, obviously I've got a little bit of a suspension. You can probably see the top of my head.
Yeah.
So I'm still gonna train. I've been training for the last 2 years. I've been consistent. I've learned a lot. I've done a lot. The only problem that I had was that I wasn't able to show it. So everyone knows me. They know what type of fighter I am. I'm double digits now in the UFC. I wanna keep up with the consistency, and that is gonna come now by getting more fights. So as soon as I can get something sorted, hopefully around the Christmas time, and then again come out next year, 3-4 fights in a year. I don't want to slow down. This is my time now. The consistency is going to help me be able to show the skill set of what I've attained and who I am, along with the dogfight and the heart of a warrior.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you very much.
Perfectly put, Chris. Perfectly put. Who's got aspirations there? 3 or 4 fights in a year. Sorry, bloody, I got tongue-tied there. But yeah, as you say, he's where he is in the rankings, isn't he? And he's in and around that area. But you never know. You never know. As you're saying, he's mixed it up in that fight, hasn't he? He's shown up his skills. So, and Amiev was a tough proposition, wasn't he? Prior, I think he was heavy favourite from what I was reading prior to the fight. So he's done well.
He has. He's done fantastic, Stuart. And I'm like I say, I'm always up for the Brits, and I'm always. I will say things that need to be said for Brits. I'm not biased beyond belief. I don't go when your Brit fighter loses. I'll go, no, they won. I will be honest. He's got a lot to work on, Danny Roberts, because he's at welterweight. Is it? Yeah, it's welterweight he's in. So it's
he is.
It's a difficult division going in. Trying to get up to those rankings. So he's got to put the work in. And hats off, he wants to fight again. Let's hope he can get another fight in before Christmas or in the new year, and keep this winning streak alive and see where he can go.
Absolutely. So, fantastic victory for him. Is there anything in the way of comments, Chris, at the moment?
We have one, actually.
Oh, there we go. Lewis Young. Hello, mate. Saw you were training yesterday at the wrestling place up in Falkirk. There you go. So, good to see you as always, mate. I can see Mike Angus. Mike Angus is watching as well. I can see on the Facebook bit here. So, all right, Mike. Had a busy weekend with the pro wrestling. So, he's done 2 or 3 shows over the weekend. So, Love us some Mike Angus. Absolutely.
Right, do you want to move on to the boxing?
Absolutely, yeah. We will be back to UFC because we'll be covering Costa versus Vettori, which is coming up. But Saturday evening, what a fantastic card up in Newcastle at the Utilita Arena. It was absolutely buzzing. The early fights in the card, which weren't on the main broadcast, were fantastic as well. We'll get to them in due course. But Chris Eubank Jr. got a fight after 2 or 3 weeks of having a cancelled fight the week 2 or 3 weeks prior. He looked good, Chris, against Adjuan. Adjuan, I find him smiling when he was coming to the ring, almost as if
he was happy to be there, wasn't he?
He didn't realise what I thought he was getting into with Eubank Jr., I don't think. But early on, Adjuan's movement, it proved tricky for Eubank Jr. You could hear Roy Jones Jr. in the corner as well with him. But I found as that went on, the shots were landing. He found his range, did Eubank Jr. And also, got to say, paid homage to his brother, Sebastian, who passed away a couple of months ago as well. We had sad news a couple of months ago. So, what a way to pay homage to his brother who he lost. Very, very sad times for the Eubank family. But, thudding punches going back to the fight. And ends up with broken ribs. There's Adjuan. And, I couldn't see it going any other way, Chris. Eubank Jr. needs tougher tests.
No, 100%. This was just to get that ring rust out the way, isn't it? I think he turned it on. Is at the end of, I would say, round N4, round 5. He really turned it on, then didn't he? Then and you can see those body shots were starting to hurt. It was a good call to stop the fight because you can't carry on with broken ribs, can you? But yeah, I agree. Chris Eubank Jr. He looked good, but against a tin can, you can look good. He needs to get these bigger fights. And as you said, when we go to the VT in a minute, he's called up Billy Joe,
which I could probably see after Liam Williams. He called him a rat. He called Billy Joe a rat as well in his post fight as well. So yeah, he's obviously got him in his periphery. That was a close fight. It was quite a number of years ago now. Another judge might have scored it. A Eubank Jr. win against Billy Joe. But yeah, I think Liam Williams. We saw him a couple of months ago against Andrade. It was a big fight for him. It was a huge test. But I think Eubank Jr. and Liam Williams definitely, Chris. But yeah, as you were saying, let's roll to VT with Mr. Eubank Jr. post-fight.
We'll find out. But if it is Liam Williams, that's a great fight. A lot of fans have been calling for that fight for a while now. He's been saying a lot on social media. So that's a fight that I would very much enjoy just for the pure fact of shutting this guy up once and for all.
Last one for me, Chris. Last time we spoke, you just put your £10,000 bet on Billy Joe Saunders to get knocked out of Canelo. Can I ask what you did with the winnings?
I gave it all to charity, which is I gave it to Rocking Horse Foundation, which is a children's charity in Brighton, and that's what I said I was going to do, and that's what I did.
Good man. Congratulations, mate.
Thank you.
Chris, congratulations on your win, October Red Boxing. We talk a little bit about styles. You've gone in there, you've been under Roy Jones for a little while. You mentioned that there's certain changes that you've done. Elaborate on that and how that's benefited you as a fighter so far after dealing with the frustration of your other two opponents the other week dropping out.
Roy's taught me a lot over the last year and a half. A lot of it is, focused on the mental aspect of the game, strategy, the reasons why you're throwing certain punches, the reasons why you're training a certain way, or the philosophy behind everything, foot movement, defense. Boxing is 70% mental. I think it's not all about being big and strong and tough. You've got to have it up here, and that's Roy's game. That's Roy's.
I think somebody should turn their phone off there, don't they?
I know. And I wanted to say sorry. I said Wibbs before. I was channeling my inner Jonathan Wass.
Wibbs.
So yes, yeah. I got a bit tongue tied, so I apologise for that. But yeah, it's just you've got to carry on. But yeah, I do like what you said there, Chris, about it being 70% mental. We've discussed. We've discussed mentally and physically many times, haven't we, across combat sports? Yeah. And I think he's on the button now. And I think Roy Jones, you can see what Roy Jones is trying to get out of him. It's going to take a few fights, I think, isn't it? Because it's a different way of training. But you're in with one of the best of all time, pound for pound, in Roy Jones Jr. So he's got the right guy behind him, hasn't he?
Definitely. I was going to say that what a tutor to have, Roy Jones Jr. You know what I mean? You can learn a lot from him, but let's don't let it go to his head, because he has been cocky at times as Chris Eubank over the years, and it has costed him in fights. So let's hope we can learn a lot. Learn a lot. I don't know then. Learn a lot from Ray whatever. Learn a lot from Ray Jones Jr. Fucking hell. The summit in the North Wales area was stumbling a little bit, but we carry on nonetheless. But yeah, I'd also like to say if you can get to Liam Williams, and I think he is better suited to middleweight, is Eubank Jr. He's been up to super middle, with relative success, but he lost to George Groves up there as well, don't forget. Still only got 2 losses, but it's now or never with him. We were saying about age, he's like 31, 32 now, so he's got to get these fights ready. He's wanted Golovkin before now. He put his name in the hat, and he was overlooked. He was overlooked for Golovkin. I think, they can get him the guys at middleweight. And, another domestic clash with Billy Joe. But, we're waiting on Billy Joe, aren't we, after the absolute decimation by Canelo? I don't think he's fully right since that one, as devastating as it was. Yeah, but it's eye injuries again. It's like Crawford, isn't it? You've got to be careful with those sort of things. So, for Billy Joe, take as long as you like and come back when you're I think 100%.
Timeline-wise, Liam Williams first, then maybe into 2022, we can get that big fight, Chris.
I think that makes more sense. And Liam Williams will test him. Liam Williams, against Andrade, looked like he had a lot of heart, and he likes to come inside, doesn't he? Likes to make his way inside and fight in the phone box as Liam Williams. So, interesting fight, going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we will move on now to Hughie Fury after a great victory against, battle-tested, hardened Christian Hamer, based in Germany, but he's Romanian. And it was the first person to stop Hammer since older cousin Tyson. So a very good victory from Hughie. Hughie's had losses in the past to Joseph Parker, Alexander Povetkin and Kubrat Pulev, Chris, but he's only 27. They alluded to this on commentary, and I think they've had the time. He's obviously trained by his dad, Peter. I think he looked good. He looked good the other night, but it is now or never with him as well. I think at 27. He's been in with decent heavyweights. We've seen Pulev, Povetkin, and Parker in and around title fights. So I've got every faith in Hughie. I just think he needs to have a bit more believability, and I think that's what they're trying to instill. I think he can fight, but I think it's that mental side again, Chris, with Hughie.
But you could see that in a fight as well. You're calling him Hamer, but they were calling him Hammer.
Hammer. It is Hammer. I think it's Hammer, but it's this usual thing, isn't it, with pronouncing names, Chris? We have it all the time.
I'll go with Hammer. It sounds a bit more, like savage, doesn't it? Hammer, Christian Hammer. To be honest with you, Hughie Fury, you can see the sort of Fury sort of style, isn't it? Is pepper him with those 1-2s, but from long range and use that reach. But that Christian Hammer was just laughing at him, wasn't he? And then he gave him a cheeky punch at the end of the bell, which I don't understand. He looked good. He looked decent against the opposition. I haven't seen his fights because it's the first one I've watched of Hughie Fury. So
okay.
So I haven't seen Povetkin or the Joseph Parker ones. I'll go back and watch them. But no, he looked solid. But you could tell in some of from the first couple of rounds when he was hitting Hammer, and Hammer was just smiling coming at him. He did struggle to try to think about why can't I stop this guy and why does he keep coming forward? But like I say, his 1-2s in his long range, and he's catching him with that sort of swooping uppercut. Constantly, every time Hammer was coming in, he was swooping up with that uppercut, trying to catch him in between the guard. So yeah, he looked good. I think he was going to finish the fight anyway. I think it was a bicep for Hammer went in,
and they're not. And the Fury camp aren't buying that. They think it was a cop out. His bicep. They just felt he'd wilted at that point, which I could kind of agree with. How can you tell if the bicep's gone? You know what I mean? It's just they can hide behind that. I think they felt it was a cop out on the Hamer on their side. But yeah, I think going forward, he's got to be looking for a step up in opponent now. It proved to be a big fight for him after a lot of losses to top level guys. But yeah, only him and Tyson in recent times have put Hammer out. Hammer.
Yeah, showed his ham on the weekend, didn't he?
Is there any comments before we move on?
There is. So,
lovely.
Good from America.
Hello, Bert. Not heard of you for a while, actually. How are you, mate? How's things?
Good old Bertie.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to Savannah?
We'll move on to Savannah because that fight was really, really good.
Fantastic win. Savannah Marshall, she was at the Olympics many years ago now, and she's absolutely superb at middleweight. And there is going to be a fight with, the fantastic Clarissa Shields. Clarissa Shields had an MMA fight this past weekend. I need to watch that, actually, Chris. So she's delving
quite good, to be fair, mate.
She's delving into both codes. And I thought, to be fair to her opponent, Lolita Mazea from Zambia, she started very well. She came out and she went for Savannah, didn't she? But I think she kind of just ran out of gas very early on because Savannah's not going to have that. You know what I mean? She's going to fight fire with fire, and she's brutal. Her punch power is brutal. It was a great performance. It was a fantastic performance for her. And she's finding herself in interviews now. She was a bit timid in front of the camera. They made light of this. But she's acquitting herself well. I think she knows you've got to be able to, making money in the sport and stuff, you've got to be able to voice yourself as well. But they reckon they're going to be out again in December on the same card, her and Clarissa Shields leading to the big fight next year. And it will be on the Boxxer card because Clarissa Shields is with Boxxer as well.
Right, okay. I thought she looked good, mate. I thought her range of striking was fantastic, and she was just constant pressure. And they were coming from different angles with the hooks and the uppercuts. And, the power, as you say, that the right hooks that she was catching, is it Mosea?
Lolita Mosea.
In that second round, were just slower and slowing her down. You could see that she was struggling with that power. But, when you've got power and you've got a good skill set, you're going to go places.
Absolutely. And they had Clarissa Shields was watching. She was on video, so they spoke to her after. She obviously feels she's got too much for Savannah. But I tell you, I think Savannah, at that weight is incredible. And she's got a lot of power. I'm not disputing, the credentials of Clarissa Shields either, though. It's going to be a fantastic fight, and hopefully, we'll get to see that. It will be over here in the UK. Absolutely.
Got a question here, right? Because
yes.
I didn't know Clarissa Shields was staying in boxing. I thought she was moving full time into MMA. I think she fights. I think she fights for the PFL, doesn't she? Do you think that's going to hinder her though? Because striking in boxing is completely different, isn't it? We've spoke about this, but having to learn MMA and obviously and focus on certain aspects of MMA and then getting back into boxing could cause quite a tricky, sort of.
I agree. Yeah, it kind of if you're doing both, if you're doing both codes and the way the way you strike in MMA, your stance and stuff like that is it is different, isn't it, Chris? I agree. It might hinder her that she's dipping in and out. It's questionable. It is questionable doing that. They obviously feel she can do it.
I'm not knocking this. She can't.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, though, won't it?
It's a lot of information for a fighter to take in. Do you know what I mean? One minute you're protecting yourself against striking, and the next minute you're protecting yourself from a high kick or let's say a takedown, and then you go back into boxing. Overcomplicate things in the head.
I didn't realize she was only 26. Savannah's 30. She's relatively young. I thought she was older because she was out in London at the Olympics, when she won gold as well, Clarissa Shields. Okay. So, anyway, moving on to the comments. Sorry, Chris. I am good. Art of Partying is taking a break. God, my reading's been awful. We'll be back in November. Right, the Art of Partying will be back. Thank you, Albert, for that. Brett Thomas, hello. Hi, guys. Logan Paul. Right, Chris, on to the next bit.
You'll love it.
Says he wants Fury now. Tommy versus Logan, not Jake. That's a tricky, that's probably a tougher test, isn't it? Logan being the bigger of the two.
I think, we've spoke about this. Jake has got more of the boxing credentials than Logan Paul. I just think the money is in Tommy Fury, Jake Paul. I don't think Logan Paul's the draw when it comes to them two because they've already made their sort of history between each other now. They've got the bite between them, haven't they? So for a narrative, you want to go along with Tommy versus Jake. Logan Paul, he did say on True Geordie's podcast that he wants another fight, and apparently he's got one, but he's not announcing it yet. I can't see it being Tommy because I feel like that's quite far down the line now with being booked. So
Brett Thomas will be salivating at this, I imagine, at this news.
Yeah.
He'll be very happy with that. Hello, Isaac. Tyler T, my mate all the way from Norwich. He's coming up next month as well. He's got a wedding up here in North Wales. So he's coming back to his second home. And we'll be out on the beers, definitely. Had you on in the kitchen, another grand show, lads. Oh, thank you, mate. He loves his combat sports, there's Isaac. And he trains like a maniac. He's in the gym a lot. So, great to see you, mate. Great having you on with a comment there, mate. See you soon. Chris, anything else before we move on to possibly the best domestic fight of the year?
No, that's it, mate, for the now.
Right.
We'll move on.
Perfect. Moving on, we had Brad Ray and Jez Smith in an 8-rounder, and it's gotta be domestic fight of the year. I'd even put it up there, maybe as one of the fights of the year. Just unbelievable. Brad Ray victorious over the 8 rounds, and he did floor Smith, but Smith really, he did well getting back up, did Smith. And Brad Ray is now 11-0, Chris. It was fantastic. It was topsy-turvy. They both went at it. It's that phone box thing again, Chris.
It was
in the pocket. In the pocket, it was fantastic, and it was also on very early, like their version of the prelims that we have in UFC. So it was on YouTube. It was on the Sky Sports pages, so anybody in the world could view it, and it was fantastic. A great advert for British boxing,
mate. I've got to be honest with you. Didn't know the guys, obviously. So this again for me as a a new, well, I would say a new boxing fan, but learning the sport as we go along with Big Fight Weekly. So not seen these guys before, but you know what I mean? The grit and heart of the pair of them was beyond belief. And that's especially that last round, Stuart, because that last round was chaos. And it was just like caution to the wind. And you know what I mean? You could see that Ray really wanted that. He wanted that knockout in that last round.
Yeah, he did. And he's only 20. He's only 23. That lad, you know. Jez Smith's been in some battles, I think, you know, domestically. But it was a good test for Brad Ray. He's big, you know. He's tall, you know. He's rangy at that weight. You know, he had that in his arsenal, didn't he? His eye looked a bit sore, to be fair. You know, I'm not going to discredit Jez. You know, Jez was solid, but. Yeah, it was just brilliant. It was on so early on the night, and it kind of set the tone for that card, you know. It really did, because everything just kept coming, you know, everything delivered on that card on Saturday evening.
No, it's good, like, especially when you get a good fight like that. But sometimes you get a really good fight like that, and then the card goes to shit then, doesn't it? Nothing else really matches to it. But if you can get a good run, it's really good.
Absolutely.
Okay, mate.
Are we moving on? To this guy? I've seen him for quite a number of years now, from 2019 onwards, and Steve Drago 2.0 USSR Robinson. He was in his hometown. This was actually the final match of the night as well, because Boxxer are kind of mixing up the order of the cards. You're not necessarily going to see the headline, at the end, which I thought was quite. It was something different. Different. So obviously Savannah retained the middleweight title. Then Steve Drago Robinson with a brutal first round KO of Reece Barlow, and he now improves to 4.0. 4.0? 4-0.
4.0.
I'm reading.
Is he like a Terminator or something?
2.0, 4.0. What's going on? Yeah, that absolutely came out to Lion King as well, Chris, which I've spoken about. I just can't wait to be king. And he's clad in Disney tattoos as well. But yeah, a good first round KO, Chris. And to be fair to Reece Barlow, he did come at him as well. You know, he caught him. He caught him. Really good right hook.
You know,
and he was complimentary of Reece Barlow, Chris. Sorry.
For a big guy, again, not like Tyson Fury, but we're talking about big guys, and Steve Robinson's a big guy. It's quite fast hands for a guy that size. His knockout was clean, wasn't it? You know, I mean, he swung for that uppercut and just cleaned Barlow out completely. He looks like he's got something about him, Steve Robinson. So I've been interested to see where he goes forward. But Stu, you've been speaking to him today.
I have, yes. So there could be something on the cards. I'll remain tight-lipped, because you never know with these things. But yeah, there could be something in the works with Mr. Robinson. We have been in. We've been chatting to him basically. So yeah, but a fantastic performance from him. You know what I like about him, Chris, as well? He's got good verbal side to him as well, and he's likable. He's likable. You know, he acquits himself well. You know, outside the ring as well. I can see him being very good at European level. You know, let's just see how he gets on. It's very early on. He was a footballer prior to this, but you know, he's only 31, Chris. Plenty of time, isn't there?
Yeah. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say baby steps, but at his age, you probably need more than baby steps. But, you know, one step at a time, isn't it? To see where his skill set is, and then progress him slowly, but obviously not too slow, because, again, he's 31. So you need to sort of move ish fast, haven't you?
Absolutely. Yes. So we look forward to covering Mr. Robinson in his next bout, whenever that may be. Moving on, we go over stateside. Mikey Garcia, who's been highly touted for many, many years, with a shock loss to Sandor Martin. I'm just going to go through the scorecards here as well, Chris. Two judges had it 97-93 to Sandor Martin, but there was a draw on one of the cards, 95-95. But I found with Sandor Martin, his sharp counter-punching, his movement was just too much for Garcia. In a shot victory, it is a shot victory, whatever way you look at it. Garcia's timing just wasn't right. He was throwing punches, but just not himself at all. I don't know whether it was just a bit of rust on his end, Chris, but, you know, that's 2 losses in 3 now. He did lose to the great Errol Spence Jr. in 2019. You know, that's no great shame at all, losing to him.
No, not at all.
But he was highly regarded, Chris, so it was a shock. But I'm not taking anything away from the Spaniard, Sandor Martin. He was absolutely brilliant. He was brilliant in the early hours here in the UK on Sunday evening.
I do like a bit of shocks, though. You know what I mean? When you've got the guy that people think they're going to win, and then the underdog wins. I do like that stuff. I'm not an underdog sort of bull hogger, as people would say, or bull hogger, or nuts. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this now. But I like the underdog story. I'm not like, oh my God, like when one wins, but it's nice to see shocks, though. It's nice to change the sort of narrative, isn't it? We haven't always got the guy that's always going to win. It's nice to see the underdog, I suppose, win.
I'm gonna paraphrase Mikey Garcia here, Chris. In a roundabout way, he thought he was ahead on all three cards. So I don't know where his head was at with that, because it was abundantly clear he was not winning that fight.
Well, that would probably be because of being too many punches, I suppose. Might cloud his judgment a bit.
I'd say the other big shock, when you're going to talk about shocks, I think it was when Lomachenko got beat by Teofimo Lopez. I'd put it. That was even more. But like we say, sometimes, Chris, it just doesn't happen for them, does it? Even though they're highly, the ones to win prior.
But that does happen, though. You've seen it in all combat sports. Like sometimes just the guy that who's champion, being so dominant, just can't get going. Or the person he's fighting on the night just has an absolutely banging night, doesn't he? And everything he throws just goes and it hits. It's just one of them. But it's good to see, though. It's good to see. It is, mate.
It is. And moving on, Chris has changed the graphic, and it is Maris Breidis who beat Mann and defended his IBF and ring cruiserweight titles. And it was in Latvia, in Riga, in the capital. Vesman Boxing, which is owned by the Sauerlands. I know they're going to be cross-promoting with Boxxer on Sky as well. But what I found shocking, Chris, there was no one domestically showing this match. It's a big match. It's a world title fight. Right. But I just found Breidis was just too powerful. Right hand bombs in that first round, but just he wasn't answering back. Was Mann. Into the second round, he utilised both hands and used heavier shots. It was good to see him mixing up his punches, left to right. And he did put Mann down. The gum shield came out. Mann did get back up, but then it was all she wrote after that. Absolutely brutal. I still think Lawrence Okoli is going to beat all the cruiserweights, Chris.
We're going into that then, Stuart. I'll flick this up.
Yes, mate. So as you can see, they're all the title holders in the cruiserweight division. Makabu, that's a tasty one, definitely for Lawrence. But I feel it'll be Maris Breidis and Okoli before too long, because there's three titles right there. But I think they've just got to do a unification within this division now, Chris. I think they should all fight each other like a World Boxing Super Series would work well. Like two semi-finals into the final then.
That makes a lot of sense.
I just think that's where the best fights are going to come in that division, because lower down, I just don't think the guys have got the credentials to challenge. But I still think Lawrence Okoli has got that power, that natural power at cruiser with his frame. I just can't see anybody toppling him, and I really do believe he's going to unify that division, which would be incredible for him.
Hey, this guy, the French one here, 26-0, can't pronounce his name. Arsene
Goulamarian.
What? Explain to me now. He got super champion.
They have a super title. Yeah, they have a super title, obviously within the WBA, and then so he's super champion, which is obviously higher up in the echelon of the WBA, and then you've got Riyad Murray as the regular champion in Belgium there below. It's weird. It's as we've said about all these boxing boards, Chris, but to have two champions, a super and a regular, you'd be leading to believe that the super champion is the kingpin of the WBA.
Yeah, well, yeah. If I'm looking at that, like I am now, and I don't know, I'm still learning about the belts and stuff, and that makes no sense to me, mate. What have one champion or two champions? But regular.
It's just hundreds of years of boxing boards. So we do say about it every week, Chris. I totally agree. It should be just one title per division. In an ideal world, Chris. Amalgamate them all.
If I'm looking at that's Riyad Murray, regular champion, I'd be like, what the fuck am I then? A regular champion? What the fuck is that? Do you know what I mean?
And he's 30-1, Chris, and he's got 25 KOs. You know what I mean? He's up there with Makabu. Makabu won the KOs. So them two have had a lot of KOs. But I just think Makabu, they're all aging. I don't know about the two gentlemen in the WBA in terms of age, but you know, Makabu fought Bellew at Goodison Park. That was many years ago. Maris Breidis is 36 now. Lawrence Okoli, I think Lawrence is 28. I think it's time for him to unify that division, Chris, and then go up to heavyweight eventually, as we've said before.
Am I taking Breidis as lot? The only loss he's got here is against Usyk. I take it.
It is in the World Series of boxing that they did before Usyk went up. But yeah, Usyk. That's no bad loss on your record, as we well know. But yeah, we will get to see hopefully in the next couple of months how the cruiserweight is going to be plotted and what matches are going to come up in there. And then moving on, we're going to preview some fights that are coming up across boxing and the UFC, Chris, but we're going to lead in with Jamal Herring defending his WBO super featherweight title. They call it the junior lightweight title in America, against the young prodigious talent Shakur Stevenson, undefeated, but Jamal Herring laid Carl Frampton to waste, and Frampton did retire off the back of that night, Chris, and he was really good, wasn't he? As that fight went on, I think Jamal Herring, he's the older guy. He's got a lot of knowledge in there. But Stevenson, I think he's took quite a lot of low shots on Jamal Herring. He's been a bit cheeky in some respects. And we've seen this before. You can talk the talk, but when you get in there, is he going to be able to walk the walk with Jamal Herring?
Well, the case would be at the fight, won't they, to see, if Stevenson can. But I don't know. I only see that one fight with Herring against Frampton, so I don't know much about Stevenson, to sort of really give you an educated guess. But I mean, you know more than I, so
it just reeked of disrespect, and we've seen it. I've seen it with Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner kind of fell by the wayside in the end. Being cocky and arrogant. I mean, if you can back it up and do it, I think Herring might be able to be like the wily veteran in this one, Chris. I really feel he can come out the other end. But he then,
his experience. Yeah.
I'm going to paraphrase Shakur Stevenson as well. Why is Herring dropped to 130? And his answer to that was to bully people. Herring's a stand-up guy. He's not bully. It's just I think he's trying anything to get inside Jamal Herring's head. But Jamal Herring trains with Terence Crawford. The great Terence Crawford. So.
It's a good training partner.
I'm going Jamal Herring on points in this one. I do believe he's going to put a mark on Stevenson's record.
Well, if that's what you're going with, I'll just have to trust what you say in this sense.
We will see. Well, we'll see next Thursday when we review everything. I'm moving on, Chris, back to the UFC. I know you want to put a bit of onus on this one for the Vegas 41 card. It is Costa versus Vettori, Chris. This is got a mix of styles, if ever there was a fight with mix of styles, hasn't it? Because we've seen how dominant Vettori's been, smothering people on the ground. But Paulo Costa's striking as well. They're the two variables, aren't they, on either side?
Well, let's put it this way. In regards to these two going into this fight, they both need the win. They both need it. I'm not saying the winner of this is going to get another title shot or get a number one contender fight, because I don't think that's the case, because they've only both come off recent losses to Adesanya, haven't they? So I can't see them getting straight in the mix unless it was an epic, KO. But I can't see it. Paulo Costa worries me, Stuart, because he was meant to face Calvin Gastelum, wasn't he, not long ago? But I'm hearing rumours that he pulled out because he wanted to get his that operation on your hair to get more hair on, more hair follicles on you, because he was. I could do
with that. Looking at that graphic, if he's receding, I'm the Pope.
Well, better pray then, mate.
Come on, like, what's wrong with his hairline? It's got a nice head of hair there.
Well, I haven't got a clue. He's a bit of a weird one, Paulo Costa, because you saw in the Adesanya fight, he was just wasn't there, was he?
No, he was vacant. He was very vacant.
But if you're going to go strike for strike with Adesanya and you're going to play the striking game, you're always going to lose, because Adesanya is world class when it comes to the striking game. And it was evident seen. You switch it to Vettori. Vettori had a bit more success against Adesanya a few months ago. I think he lost every round, mind you, but he put an effort in. He tried. He got his trunks the right way this time, didn't he? Not like the picture. That was weird. That was. How would you not know if your trunks are out the wrong way? You just know, wouldn't you? But yeah, I feel like this can go one way because I think Vettori is just constant pressure. I think Vettori can take you down. I think Vettori's, strong and muscular, and he's very wide. What's the word? I can't think of the word I'm trying to think now. It'll come back to me. But he uses his takedowns, is what I'm trying to say. But he'll use that to take Costa down. I think he can beat Costa up on the ground. Okay, I'm not going to say Costa's going to struggle because I don't think he will. But then again, I don't know what Costa we're getting. So it's quite one of them where it's a bit up in the air with Costa. But he's still a savage, and he still can cause problems with power.
Yeah.
I remember him walking down. And now he's saying it's just got out of my head now. Why has it gone out of my head?
It's all right, mate. It's okay. He was walking down somebody.
Oh, yeah, but it was why can't I remember his name? It's proper eluded me now. Yoel Romero. There you go. Yoel Romero. He was walking down Yoel Romero in the first round, right? And this is what Costa was really good at. And he was walking down. He got dropped as well in that fight, and he dropped Yoel Romero. But he looked really good in that fight. He looked, like he could cause some problems. And I just think then he fought Adesanya. Adesanya, very clever of what he says, and he gets into people's head, and he just capitulated. But then you find out that he was getting pissed the night before his fight, and it's like you're asking for trouble.
Hair follicles and alcohol. Maybe if he put the alcohol in his hair, it might increase the growth of his hair. But yeah, I can't see that. But it's perfect. It's perfectly poised, that one, isn't it, Chris? Because what we've seen of Vettori smothering people on the ground, he is fantastic. As you say, Costa, when he loads up as well with his striking on his day, is savage, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a savage. They're both savages, to be fair. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not discrediting Vettori. I'm not just saying it is about him getting people down. They've got to be multifaceted. They've got to be multifaceted.
That's his wheelhouse, isn't it? You've seen him do it to multiple people in the middleweight division. I think Vettori's going to have too much because I listened to Costa the last couple of months with his complaints about matchmaking, and he's complaining he's not getting paid enough. You just feel like his head's somewhere else, isn't it?
Seems
it. I've heard that Gastelum as well for this fight is backup just in case of Costa pulling out. So
right, they've put it in place, and haven't they, just to be safe that they've got someone who can
they've
come
got
in.
The main event.
At least they're doing that because they know what he's like. But yeah, Chris, anything else before we go and sign off with episode 34?
Yeah, we've got Jai Herbert, another UKO.
Yeah.
Again, sure, this is a must-win for Jai Herbert. He got unfortunately knocked out against Cowboy. Is it Cowboy? No, I don't think it was. Trinaldo, sorry, in his first fight over in Abu Dhabi last year. And he was looking really good. That's the whole thing with Dan Hardy. If you remember, and Dan Hardy kicked off at Herb Dean. It was during that fight. Yeah. But Jai Herbert looked absolutely phenomenal in that fight against Trinaldo. He got caught with one of those sort of strikes where you don't see it until it's too late, and then obviously it beat him against Monotaro. He fought a few months ago. Rafael Monotano's fought Jose Aldo. He's fought some of the best in that division. And unfortunately for Jai Herbert, he just got bullied on that night. And this fight here, Worthy is quite old now. I was looking through his record today, and Cammy Worthy, Stuart, has been KO'd twice in his last two fights. And the fight's only lasted just over a minute. So
it's a cannon fodder one, you're saying, being set up so he can get a W. Not to discredit him, because anything can happen in the confines of the octagon.
Yeah.
But yeah, from what you're saying there, you feel it's one where it's to get him, on a win.
Well, he needs it, because I think if he loses this, Jai Herbert, they will cut him, and there'll be no bother with that, really. But I like Jai Herbert. Like I said, Jai Herbert was fantastic in Cage Warriors. So when he got, moved up to the UFC, I was really looking forward to it, and he's just been really unfortunate, with this loss against Trinaldo. This last fight is matched up in a difficult match. This one here is matched up perfectly for him. So unless something doesn't happen to him shockingly, he should win this fight.
We look forward to that. The UK's own Jai Herbert back in action. Hopefully can get the W. Chris, anything before we sign off for the evening?
No, that's it, mate. That is
perfect. What is happening with you at the moment? And yeah, just plug your socials before we go, mate. Please.
I think Chippy wants to join in.
The dog's doing it for you.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I've got nothing planned coming up at the moment. There are some plans in the new year with a new show with someone, but I'll reveal that as we go into next year. I'm not sure what we're covering at the moment. Still at a sort of infant stage of this new show.
Formulating it.
Yeah, so I'll let everyone know once we have everything in place. With my socials, you can find me on Twitter at VanHume. You can find me on Instagram at VanHume86. And you can find me where the thing here coming down the bottom. You can find me and Stu both here. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple. All good places you can get your podcasts. And also you can find us on our Facebook page. Drop a message. Drop some fights that you like or something you want us to cover for next week or the week after. Just drop anything in.
Perfect. Yeah, we have charted this week as well with Big Fight Weekly. So on Apple. We're in the wrestling chart, because that was like the best chart to put us in. There's no MMA or boxing chart. So yeah, that's the one we're in, because you get a lot of MMA and boxing podcasts coming into. We've been in the top 250 for the last 5 days. So we are in there. We're happy with that. And yeah, I've been Stuart Palmer, and you can find me at Stu's Wrestling Podcast across social media. I've got a couple of interviews coming up as well. Some new stuff leading into the 100th episode. But yes, I have been Stuart Palmer with my co-host and cousin Chris Hume. This has been episode 34 of Powerful.tv Big Fight Weekly, and we will see you next Thursday live at 4 p.m.
See you next Thursday.